Hello, everybody. My name is Terrin Waack, and I am joined today by
Liam McCullough.
Liam. And I are starting this project as a little fun thing outside of work, and it's called Snap Back to Reality.
Yes, it is. Taryn, do you want to tell everyone, all the listeners, kind of how what this is, kind of how it came to be, and or kind of start there?
Liam and I both work for the Atlanta Falcons in completely different manners, obviously. I am a writer for the website. Liam is their long snapper. And during open locker rooms for media, I probably shouldn't have been doing this, but he and I would talk a lot about The Bachelor, Bachelorette, whatever was airing, and kind of just like bond over reality TV. And we're like, what if we did this outside of work? What if we shared our thoughts, our feelings toward reality TV through a podcast? And so that is now becoming a reality, our own reality.
Yeah, kind of like you're saying, I don't even remember how it started or when it. To be honest, it probably started a couple of years ago. Just kind of in passing, where media would be in the locker room, pulling people for interviews, and it was I don't know if one of us overheard a conversation with someone else, and someone brought up, the Bachelor, Bachelorette, something, and it was kind of one of those, oh hey, you watch The Bachelor, you watch The Bachelorette. Oh, no way, I do too. Oh, what'd you think about last night's episode or something like that? And so then it kind of went from that, and grew into a weekly check-in where it was something that was on kind of the metaphorical schedule, where anytime it was whatever day the that week's episode of the Bachelor franchise was airing, you know, the next day during open locker room for media, we were touching base every week on thoughts from the previous night's episode, what we thought was going to happen, coming up, and then it kind of grew from just The Bachelor, Bachelorette into other reality shows as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think it started with Jen season that
Probably
we started like fully diving into it.
that's
And
when
I remember being
I
like
did.
upset when I actually had to go do interviews. I'm like, well, what about our check-in? And I was really bad at keeping up with it. Like, I think you watched it live a lot more than I did. And so you'd be like, have you watched? And be like, no, so don't spoil it.
Yeah, that is true. I'm not gonna lie. I had to have some conversations with a few other media members about what was going on at the time,
I was
because
betrayed.
you were a little behind. But yeah, I watch pretty much when it comes to the Bachelor, Bachelorette. Pretty much watch every episode that airs. I fun fact have a little watch party with my wife and a couple other um, coworkers from the facility, and their spouses as well. We all like to get together every week, and watch whatever reality show is airing in that particular time frame of the year, whether it's something from the Bachelor franchise, whether it's Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, whether it's now Love Island, which I just was somewhat reluctantly forced into watching about a week and a
Oh, but
half.
it's so good. It's so
Yeah,
bad, it's good.
it is. It's awful, but it's fantastic at the same time.
We'll get
Yeah,
there.
so it kind of has spiraled to almost a year round, um, touching of base, tapping in and say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Um, you know, anything, all the above shows and more.
Yeah. We went from colleagues to friends,
There
reporter
you,
and player to friends
there you
who bonded over the trashiest of TV.
Yeah, and as you were saying, this is completely outside of work. It's one of those things where it's always good to have some sort of um, you know passion or hobby outside of work. I feel like if in the NFL, whether you're playing or reporting or coaching or whatever it is, I'm a big proponent of having hobbies outside of work. I feel like a lot of guys try to make the NFL, or football, or whatever your job is, kind of their whole personality. And with you and I mean, I get that's clearly not the case.
Hmm.
We got hobbies outside of work, and I think it's good to be able to have some sort of kind of mindless entertainment to be able to turn off the brain every now and then, especially in the long um, the long period of time that is the season and the stressful period of time that is the season. As you can see behind me, I got lots of different hobbies, whether it's Legos or collecting different things or whatever it is. So this is one of our kind of mutual hobbies outside of work that it really is it adding much to society? No, but it's something that we enjoy, and it's kind of a guilty pleasure of ours, and it's actually surprisingly shared by a lot of guys on the team and a lot of people in the facility and a lot of guys around the league too. um,
Maybe more people will come out and admit that they watch stuff like this now that we're publicly putting out our guilty pleasure.
I,
Because,
I
like,
I think so.
I love reality TV. I still watch Jersey Shore every week. Like, because it still comes out with new episodes. If people didn't know, 15-year anniversary this year. Like, I think I appreciate it, as you said, because it's kind of mindless, where it's very different when I'm watching sports or working and I'm so locked in. And when it comes to reality TV, you just watch it and you're like, this is absolutely insane. Like my
it's
life now feels simple in comparison.
it's also something too that it's insane. It's so out there. It's reality TV, but a lot of it is so out of touch with reality and with
Reality.
what real life is like. Which I mean, I feel like that just plays into what makes it entertaining and what makes it enjoyable, and it's something where we can collectively, whether you're a football player, whether you're in the media, whether you're working in an office or whatever, we can all point to something and say, "That's crazy." I want to watch more of it.
Or people will say that's crazy. I never want to watch this again. But we fall on the other
Yeah,
side of that spectrum.
yeah, yeah, for
And
sure.
so thinking of that in this podcast, let's tell them what to expect out of us and how we're starting with The Bachelor in Paradise season that is debuting on Monday.
Yes. So, as we kind of mentioned, there are obviously multiple reality TV kind of segments throughout the year. With the one coming up now being Bachelor in Paradise, which they're bringing it back, right? They it went away for did it go away for a little bit?
I think they skipped last year. See,
That's right.
I just enjoy it. Pure base enjoyment. You're the one who gets all nitty gritty in the timeline and the tea.
Yeah. See, that's the thing is like if I'm in, like I'm in. So if I'm gonna watch it, then I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna have an opinion about it, and I want to know what other people's opinions are, and
Yeah.
then I'm gonna tell them why my opinion's correct.
We're gonna get in some arguments this season. But yeah, so with this year, since it's gonna air, we don't know if it's gonna air once a week or twice a week just yet. But our intention is after each episode or bunch of episodes to kind of just come on here and share our thoughts, feelings, hot takes, cold takes, just opinions in general. Who was your favorite? Who's
Eventually,
your least favorite?
eventually answer some questions from listeners potentially.
Potential listeners.
Some
Because like
hot.
we said, this is outside of work. So it's not a grand production. So bear with us in that regard too. But we do want feedback, questions, suggestions, all of the above. Nicely.
Yeah,
Cool. Glad you agree.
yeah, I'm on board.
Okay, let's get to the fun part then. Let's talk about our favorites and least favorites coming into Bachelor in Paradise. Coming into they're going to Mexico, right? They always go to Mexico. The
Costa
beaches of
Rica,
Mexico. They
Costa Rica this
switched.
year. Yes.
Oh, I missed that memo. I would have shown up in Mexico. Not that
Yeah.
I was invited.
So I'm going to preface this by saying this. I've been a long time watcher of the Bachelor Bachelorette franchise, going back even before Sean Lowe and Catherine's season.
God.
So it's I've been watching the franchise for a while, but this will be my first experience with Bachelor in Paradise. I've never watched it before. I don't really know the premise too much. I feel like I kind of have the basics, but I kind of once you brought this idea to me, whenever that was, so a year ago, maybe even over, I was like,
Mhm.
okay, if we're going to start talking about this, I want to have something where I can kind of go in blind and kind of experience it for the first time. So I do not know a lot about this part of the Bachelor franchise, but that being said, I did watch some of the sneak peeks and spoilers leading up to this season, even though I'm not a spoiler guy. But I had to at least know who was going to be on the show. So,
Yeah, that's not a spoiler.
yeah, okay,
I don't
that's
think
fair.
that's a spoiler.
True. Um,
That's like going into a football season being like, who's on the roster?
that's true. That's a very very valid point. But that being said, we definitely did go through this roster and pick out some of our favorites and least favorites. Do you want to start?
I'll start because my favorite has to be Justin or Hakeem. I think they were both on Jen's season. No, not Justin, but Hakeem definitely was. And
Hakeem.
the reason I picked both of them is because they have like the most aggressive facial expressions. And as someone whose face is like gives away whatever I'm feeling at all times, I respect that about them, but they have like they go to a new level. Hakeem's eyes are just they go wide. It's like can you see everything? Can you see like 360? And so I'm really excited about them just for the pure comedic relief when the camera pans to them at the perfect times.
Oh, 100%. And fun fact about Hakeem,
Oh
I
boy.
actually saw Hakeem in a different reality TV show. I believe that he did make a surprise guest appearance in an episode of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Um,
Ooh,
in
I
a,
haven't watched that one.
it's it's insane for a lot of different reasons, but it's wild. If you want to have one of the craziest reality TV experiences of your life, go watch the first 10 minutes of season one, episode one. Um, I'm actually getting ready tonight to watch the final episode of the second season, and I'm with some coworkers from work that are coming over, so I won't out them. But
Thanks for the invite.
oh yeah,
Just
my bad.
kidding.
But yeah, no, I would definitely say that I'm looking forward to seeing Justin and Hakeem this season. I think for me personally, there's a few people that I'm very excited to see. First of all, very excited to see Gary and Keith from the Golden Bachelorette franchise. I'm excited with the additions of the Goldens this season. Really excited to see kind of how they interact with each other, but also if and how they're going to interact with some of the younger people that are in Paradise as well. I loved Gary during Jones' season. Well, they're both Gary and Keith are from Jones' season of the Golden Bachelorette. Loved Gary. He always was a positive energy, always having fun. Loved watching him on prom night back in that episode. And I love Keith, Keith the girl dad. Fun fact: my wife is pregnant with our first child, and she is a girl. So we're excited for that. Love seeing girl dads having a good time, and Keith really, in some ways, reminds me of my dad, kind of in his appearance and how he talks and his mannerisms, and so that was kind of cool to see. I actually had a lot of people, a lot of teammates and coworkers tell me Keith reminds me a lot of your dad.
How
So
does
I'm
your
excited.
dad feel about that? How does your dad feel about that
He
though?
doesn't know, and he doesn't particularly watch
Okay.
the Bachelor franchise that much either. So
If he
I'm
listens to this, that is a compliment. Keith was
yes,
a great girl dad.
that is a
Though you're
compliment.
not a girl, but I bet he was a great dad in general.
Oh yeah. But on top of that, who I'm most excited to see on this season of Bachelor in Paradise is Sam M from Jen's season, and
Controversial.
that may be a hot take. I'm a big Sam M fan, and I'll tell you why. Um, I'm not gonna lie, during Jen's season, I drank the Kool-Aid. I was a Sam M hater for 98% of the season. Yeah, probably about 98, maybe 98.5% of the season.
They gave
Um,
him a mad edit.
but I was a Devin fan. I'm not gonna lie. I liked early on that Devin spoke his mind. He seemed like he knew what he wanted and didn't really care. He wasn't there to make friends. he knew what the show was about, and he kind of went after what he wanted. And I thought that was respectable. And then the end of the season happened, and I had to admit that I was wrong. Um,
Ooh, how'd
and
that feel?
it was humbling. It was a humbling experience. But in the wake of that, I actually met and became friends with Sam. Sam and with Thomas. Sam M and Thomas N are both good friends of mine from Jen's season of The Bachelor. And that kind of came to be through the Falcons media, social media team. They actually came to a Falcons game, and some people from our organization asked me to reach out to some influencers and some people to see if they'd be interested in coming to a game. And I was like, you know what? Let me reach out to these guys. I knew Thomas was an Atlanta resident, and Sam is from South Carolina, so I knew he wasn't too far either. And I was like, you know what? Shot in the dark. I knew Sam was a Cowboys fan. I saw it online, and it was for the game we were playing the Cowboys. I was like, you know what? Let me just message both of them. And they actually were together when I messaged them.
Ooh,
And
small
they were
world.
like, "Oh yeah, awesome. We'd love to come." And so they came out, and the night or a couple nights before the game, we actually went to dinner. And I was kind of, excited, fangirling, like, "Holy shit, I'm gonna, beat with these guys that were on the show, and been watching this show since I was little, and now I get to hear about what it was like." And turns out they had the same kind of reaction going into it, like, holy shit, we're going to go have dinner with an NFL player. We're going to blah, blah, blah. We want to know all about what the NFL is like. And so we probably sat and talked for 3 or 4 hours all about what it's like being on the show, what it's like playing in the NFL. Really, most of it was me hammering them questions about the Bachelorette and their season and what their experience was like. And, about 20% of it was talking about football. But yeah, I've kept in touch with them ever since. I've been out to South Carolina. I've visited Sam's family. I've met his family. We go
Oh, wow.
golfing and stuff. Oh yeah, great people, and very, very, very different than how he was portrayed on the show. So I know that's a long rant, but I'm excited to see my guy Sam on Bachelor in Paradise.
I'm curious to see if he'll have like a redemption story because sometimes like the quote unquote villain gets that on Paradise.
Yeah,
So maybe we'll see the Sam but in the
yeah,
meantime, I remember him as the not so
as
pleasant man on
as
Jen's
the villain,
season.
for sure,
Yeah,
for
with the
sure.
public.
It'll be very interesting to see kind of how that goes. One other person that I wanted to mention that I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see um, from Joey's season. I believe it was Joey's season. I'm really excited to see Lexi on the show. Also another Atlanta local.
Mm.
Fun fact: the reason I'm excited to see her, I found out recently that she is also born and raised in Columbus, Ohio, which is where I'm from Columbus. She's from a town a little outside of Columbus called Pataskala. Um, the only reason I'm familiar with them is because we used to play them in football in high school, and I also used to run track meets there. So excited to see someone from Columbus, Columbus area, who's also in Atlanta now on that show as well.
I can tie you on the meeting one of them then because I met Lexi at one of her In the Wild events, and we're not going to get into that.
How I was about to say, how did that go? What was that like?
No.
I've heard some stories from those events that have been pretty interesting, but it's okay. We don't have to get into that now.
Well, I don't want you to just leave it as it was interesting and people be like, "Ooh, Taryn, what'd you get into?" Like now,
Oh
now I'm like digging my own hole.
no, no, no! I just heard I've heard that they're events where a lot of people show up and they can be kind of chaotic. And I've heard some people say that they absolutely love them and they're fantastic and they're really cool. And then I've heard some people that have gone and they've been not thrilled.
Like
Nothing,
I
nothing.
came up to, yeah, I think I came up to you in the locker. Was like, I went, it didn't work. But you're like, I'm not sure it was a work or not work situation. I was like, nope, didn't work.
That sounds about
So
right. That's
you've named a bunch of people you are excited to see. Who are you dreading being on your TV?
mm. Mm. That was something I kind of had to think about. And really, there's no one that I'm absolutely dreading, but there are definitely some people. If you would have asked me at the beginning of Jen's season, I would have said Sam. I would dread to see Sam on that. But I think now someone who's who's going to be on the season that I wasn't a huge fan of was Zoe from Grant's season recently. I was not a huge fan of Zoe.
That's
Um,
fair.
Something about her and kind of how she moved and how she talked kind of just rubbed me the wrong way. Um, Her first date with Grant, they did a bridal photo shoot, and it was just
Mm,
uncomfortable. It seemed like too soon and kind of forced. It seemed like Grant was kind of uncomfortable, and it made me uncomfortable watching it. And
I
then,
hate those in general. Do not
yeah, it's
put a non-bride in a bridal gown.
not a great idea, not a great look.
Like
And then,
engagement photo dates, big boo.
yeah, and I remember the first time I noticed her on his season was when she was on a group date playing basketball with a bunch of kids, and she grabbed Grant and took him up to the rooftop, and they were talking for on what on art screens looked like it was maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Turns out I read something after the show that said that they were up there for like an hour, to the point where like the kids were even like, "Hey, like, are they coming
Yeah.
back down? Is Grant here?" And then they came back down, and everything was like, "Okay, hurry up, we gotta get this stuff knocked out and head out." And so I guess that's why all of the women were so pissed that they didn't get any time with Grant. Not that she just took him and stole him, which I mean happens all the time on group dates, but the fact that they were away for so long.
Yeah.
So not a huge Zoe fan. We'll see if she can change my mind like Sam did when she's on Paradise.
I
What
wouldn't be
about you?
surprised if that's another redemption arc one. But for me, I'm gonna go with Dale
Okay.
because I did not like how he and Claire kind of cut their season short. I just didn't
Yeah.
like how that was handled. I did like because I think it was Tasha who came in afterward and just had her whole season, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
I believe so.
So loved that, but didn't love the before of how Claire and Dale handled that. But what it was like the dagger or like the final nail in the coffin was his like intro video for Bachelor in Paradise where he said, and I quote, I may have caught footballs for a living, but catching hearts, that's a natural talent. Uh,
Yeah,
no.
those were all kind of
Oh,
kind of cringy. Part of me thinks that those
oh,
were kind of designed to be kind of cheesy, cringy, like old school 2000s dating show
I
intros, but
know.
if that was the goal of making everyone uncomfortable and kind of icked a little bit, then I think that was a success.
It was a mad success.
What would you say you're most excited about in general for this season?
The addition of Alabama Hannah. Hannah Brown is going to be there. And apparently, like some different cocktail lounge or something like that.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
not
curious what that's going to
sure. Um, they didn't really like clarify that, but I think she just has a great personality. I loved her season. So I'm excited for a little bit of Hannah Flair in there in general.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really cool to see her again. I feel like she's kind of been in and out of kind of the public sphere. She's definitely a well known character and personality from the franchise, and a fan favorite. So I think it'll be interesting to see kind of how she fits in with her new role here. I think if I had to pick what I'm most excited about, I think really it's like I said, this is my first time watching the show, so I'm kind of going in blind, and um, I'm excited to see kind of what Paradise is all about. I'm going to be shifting from the chaos that is Love Island to Bachelor in Paradise, which I feel like will be a tad bit more restrained, and probably a little more PG as well. But I'm excited. I can't wait. Especially with the golden contestants being mixed in, I think it's going to be really cool. I know when we were talking earlier, you were mentioning kind of maybe it being a little awkward or uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm nervous. I'm nervous. The only reason I watched the Golden Bachelorette was so I didn't get bullied by you.
that is true. I did kind of bully you to start watching. But here's my thing with the
Yeah.
Golden Bachelor, Golden Bachelorette series. Like, part of it is like, okay, absolutely these these seniors deserve to find love.
Mhm.
Does that mean that I necessarily want to see them making out and stuff and getting touchy feely on TV? Not necessarily, because
No.
it makes me think of my grandparents, and I don't
Yeah.
necessarily want to see that. But I will say I love the Golden franchises because they're just there still is drama, not as much as with the main kind of mainstream Bachelor Bachelorette wings, but it's just the Golden series. They're so wholesome. It for the most part is good people coming on for the right reasons. They're having fun. They're doing things together. They're making friends, and just to hear, especially on Joan's season recently, hearing the guys talk to each other and talk about each other, and just the camaraderie of seeing them all together. It just it's a nice kind of positive um, check out of reality and out of it's a feel good show. You know, it's a feel good show.
Yeah. I want the drama.
That's fair. That being said, on the
I
last
know.
note of staying wholesome, I really hope that we get to see Charles from Joan's season as well. Justice for
Oh,
Charles.
yes.
Charles on prom night, man, I feel for him. That was a phenomenal experience. Him calling his daughter afterwards and telling her how much fun that he was having. It brought a tear to my eye. So
Yes.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Okay, so enough of the wholesome. I know you've been itching to talk about the latest Love Island episode. And I'm giving us a barrier where we can have maybe like 5, 10 minutes of this, okay? 10?
Okay. That's a lot to pack in. I do have a lot to say.
I know.
I'll preface this by saying I got dragged into watching Love Island. I had my wife, a couple of her friends came in from Ohio, and they were all going to spend the weekend watching Love Island. That's what they wanted to do. So my wife, for a solid week, was catching up on everything that had happened in the first however many 12, 13 episodes of the season. And these episodes are like an hour to an hour and a half ish
Yep.
each. So she was watching all day for like a week. And she kept saying, I have to get caught up. I have to get caught up. And I'm thinking from the mindset of The Bachelor, like, there's only one episode a week. They're like an hour, like maybe
No.
maybe no, that's not the case. It's every day except Wednesday and Saturday, even though Saturday is the After Sun, kind of like a little recap
I don't
breakdown.
watch those.
I haven't yet, but I will say when everyone came down two weekends ago to watch, they've made me watch one episode with them, and I was hooked on the drama, and it is nothing but drama. It has been nothing but drama. I came right in the episode where Hannah got voted off, so that's
Ooh,
of where I came in.
controversial.
Yeah, and I liked Hannah for that one episode, so I was kind of like, hang on, why did she get the old stanky boot? Like, what's going on here? So that being said, watching the past week and a half, especially with the episode, what was it, episode 26 that ended last night, I think?
Yes, on Tuesday, July 1st. Just
Yeah,
for reference of those
yeah.
listening.
So it was the standing on business, where everyone put their postcards in the letter boxes. I will say, in the last week, I've done a lot of reading outside of the show on the drama and some of the conspiracies. It's all over TikTok. It's all over Twitter. So I have been doing some reading, and I have some very, very strong opinions. And the way that I basically sorted it is I said, okay, who is in, who's out, and who's on the fence, right? So the first people for me that are in, number one is Amaya Papaya. I'm an Amaya
Yes.
Papaya fan. I think she's one of the few genuine people on the show right now that's still on the show. I Not that she can do no wrong, but it's wholesome and real to see kind of who she is and what she's about, and really who she is, because a lot of these people, we don't really see who they are, or what they're really like. I feel like a lot of these people, it's kind of a facade that they put up. But I think Amaya is one of the few um, genuine people on the show. In that vein, other people that are in for me, Austin and Jaden. I'm a fan of Austin and Jaden. Tall guy from Florida, kind of goofy, but Jaden is the same way. She's kind of goofy, kind of quirky. They joke back and forth. Again, I know that there was some heat earlier in the season with Austin and Amaya. I wasn't here for that. Don't come for me in the comments or in the mailbag. But from what I had seen, Austin had pretty much stayed out of a lot of the drama. He was having a lot of fun, and Jaden is very similar. Chris, for me, I'm a big fan of Chris. Chris, our basketball player, 6'8". He is, in my opinion, he is the only guy there that is a quote unquote real man. I feel like he is a man amongst boys on that in the villa. I mean,
Oh, pause. Ace pulled Chris for a conversation, I was cackling at the height difference. The
it
man is like
was
5'4". He's probably my height.
it was significant. We'll get to Ace in a minute. I got
Okay.
a lot to say about Ace.
Oh boy.
But some other people that I'm also fans of. I like Iris and TJ. I wasn't huge fans of them at first, but they're staying out of the drama. I mean, they look cute together, and like they kind of have like their own little way of communicating. They're both kind of dry and sarcastic, but like it kind of works for them. So like I don't mind them. I don't mind them. They're not my favorite, but I don't mind them. Um,
Hmm.
and surprise, shocker! If you would have asked me this time yesterday, I would not have put these guys in my in category. Taylor and Clark. Taylor and Clark.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
not who I was expecting.
yeah. But
I
we
thought
can
you were
get
gonna
back.
say Hoda.
Okay, let's talk about Huda. I am not a Huda fan. I'm not at all. Um,
That's
I
fair.
I think she is. I feel like she's insecure. She's emotionally manipulative. I don't. I'm not a Huda fan. I don't like. I started watching when she was trying to make up with Jeremiah right before Jeremiah
Oh.
went out the door, and just seeing kind of how she pulled him for a chat. When she pulled him for a chat and then was like kind of like gave him a hug and then was lingering, was all up in his grill and everything. I didn't really like that. It seemed a
Mhm.
little, and I don't know. There's a lot of stuff about Huda that I don't like. What I will give her credit for, I actually posted something about this yesterday. I couldn't believe I was saying this last night. Justice for Huda after the standing on business, because she stood on business. She got a lot of flack. She
Mhm.
she put her foot down. She stood up for herself. She stood up for Chris, and I don't think she deserved all the flack she got. And I think she gave some pretty good answers to what.
She got ganged up on
Oh yeah, and
by
yeah,
like, oof.
I drank the Kool Aid. So leading up to it, I would have been like, absolutely, go after her. But she brought up some pretty
There's
good
a
points.
line. There's
She
also a
brought
line.
she brought up some pretty good points, and
Yeah.
that's a great transition into who's out for me. Um, Three people off the rip that gotta go: Sierra, Shelly, Alondria. The three of them gotta go. They gotta go.
They're like mean
They
girls.
are. They're the mean girls, and it's so fake. What kind of how they move and how they talk, and I think this is case in point with Pepe bringing up. He
Ooh,
put in a question. Yeah,
I
justice for
love
Pepe.
Pepe.
Justice for Pepe, justice for Hannah. But he put in a question about why did you guys vote, you three specifically, to send Hannah home? And their response, I believe it was Sierra that came up and said that,
Hmm.
oh, she was locked in too soon. She didn't explore. she blah blah blah. That's not what this is about. Blah blah blah. But at the same time, Sierra, Elandria, and Shelly have all been locked in. Sierra and Nick, Elandria and Taylor at that point, and then Shelly and Ace, they were all locked in and coupled up and had the tunnel vision that Sierra was talking about since pretty much day one. And then for Sierra to come back and say that Pepe had tunnel vision, and then Elandria is sitting there nodding her head and ganging up, when she literally said, when she's in a battle trying to get Taylor back from Clark, when in reality she was saying, "Oh, I've only had eyes for Taylor this whole time." So it's not okay for Pepe to have tunnel vision with Hannah and vice versa, but it's okay for her to only have eyes for Taylor this whole time.
The double standards in that entire episode drove me insane because I feel like I went into that episode fans of X, Y, and Z and left fans of A, B, and C.
100%.
Like, I've never had an episode like flip my preferences or my
Oh yeah.
opinions so aggressively. I was cringing, like jaw on the floor, uncomfortable throughout that entire thing.
Oh yeah. That being said, too, on
So
top of
bad.
that, one of the biggest things they kept throwing out was this term, "Oh, you're not a girl's girl. You're not a girl's girl. Huda, you're not a girl's girl." Well, I don't agree with everything that Huda's done. Far from it.
Right.
For Elandria to throw out the whole Huda and Chris, kissing and not being a girl's girl and throwing shade at that, when she didn't want to bring up anything about her and Nick when they both got voted off, and then they went on their
Hmm.
little date together, and then came back in the little experiment that the two of them had together.
Hmm.
She didn't want to bring that up, but I guess we'll have to wait until movie night
Ooh.
to
Okay, I
see
was gonna ask if
what
you know
happens.
what movie night is.
I've been told about movie night. I
Okay.
haven't. I've been told kind of the premise and what it is. I cannot wait because I am. Also, on
Mhm.
that note, Sierra being like the whole time that that she was in Casa Amor, the whole time, or no, the guys, was it the guys were in Casa? No, girls went to Casa Amor.
Girls are in Casa.
Yeah. So when the whole time the girls were in Casa Amor, and Sierra's out of one side of her mouth saying, "Oh, I can't handle the pressure of Nick thinking about Nick with another girl, thinking about Nick with another girl," to the point where she's like leaving and breaking down and crying, and then seeing the stuff that she was doing with Elin, like, is wild, wild double
Hmm.
standard. That being said, Nick's got to go too. That is the most surface level connection I've ever seen in my life, and it's completely it's fake. There's nothing there. There's no substance. I mean, it's Nick and Sierra, and then Elandria, and Shelly and Ace. Shelly and Ace is a whole nother
Yeah.
deal. The just like you said, the height difference between the two of them, right? Um, that is
I mean, like, short kings deserve love too,
absolutely. But
but
Ace is the
Ace is not being
definition.
a good person.
Ace is the definition of a Napoleon complex. He like feels like he has to get super aggressive. Chris called him out during Standing on Business, and he felt like he had to, come out and get super aggressive and super heated and super animated. And then on top of side note, he said, "Oh, you're 6'8". I'm 5'10". He's not 5.
No,
And
no.
I'll tell you this as someone who's been an athlete and has been in athletics at the college and the pro level. Anytime that somebody, if you ever look at a roster and see someone listed at 6 foot, they're really 5'10", because they think they're close enough to 5'10" that they can put 6 foot or list themselves or tell people they're 6 feet tall, and they're close enough that they kind of look like they may be. But then if you say you're 5'10", you're max 5'8", maximum. I wouldn't be surprised if he was actually like 5'5" or 5'6". And not that there's anything
Think
wrong with
so.
that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like, just don't be that guy that's like gotta go over the top because you're overcompensating because you're insecure about your height or whatever. Like, if you're short, you're short. Be a good person. Don't be an a hole. And you know it was too much. And then on top of
Yeah.
that, seeing how or actually no, it wasn't Chris that set him off. It was Austin, because Austin called
That
him
was a
out.
surprise. But I
Austin,
respected Austin for calling him out because the damned if you do, damned if
yeah,
you didn't when it came to Jeremiah was so true.
yeah,
Jeremiah was all in and Ace was talking trash. Jeremiah was exploring, Ace was talking trash. Like,
yeah,
I didn't understand.
yeah, exactly. And then calling him out, and then talking about his little minions there with Nick and with
Yeah.
Taylor. He did not like that. But
Yeah.
what I'm excited for, I've been voting in every poll, I've been ranking in every poll, because a lot, I don't know if people that don't know the show, or people that don't realize, they don't have their phones, they don't have access to the outside world, they're in their own little bubble. So he thinks that he's hot shit. He thinks he's running this. He thinks that he's the ringleader. He and Shelly are playing this long game where they pretend like they're exploring, but they're really not. Uh,
No.
and
I
he,
saw a rumor that they knew each other
oh
and
yeah,
like went
they did.
in with this plan.
Yeah. Supposedly, he and Shelly are actually dating outside of the show. I saw someone made a TikTok that said that they went to high school with Ace, and they were like, "Oh, did you?" Someone, one of their friends came up to them and said, "Oh, did you see Ace is going to be on Love Island?" And he's like, "Wait, isn't he dating that girl, Shelly? Blah blah blah. Outside of, why is he going on the show?" And they're like, "No, she's going to be on the show too." So supposedly they know each other. And then I saw something else that said they set up Alandria on dates with, I don't remember, some rapper or something, producer, whatever. But supposedly the three of them all know each other. Now it turns out people are saying Sierra has been media trained. She's friends with some of the girls from, I think, season 5 or something. And she's been
People
media
are
trained.
ruining reality
Yeah.
TV.
And it's
Don't gameplay it.
Nick was like some TikTok influencer, when he was younger, and now he's trying to build his social media. And it just seems like there's this core group of people, the three mean girls, and then Nick, and I would have said it about Taylor, but I don't know. That
I don't
they just
understand the allure.
they're trying to play the long game and make it seem like they're genuine. Case in point, when when the guys were going off on Amaya, she did not deserve that. Uh,
No, that was bad. That was
but
a poor girl.
oh yeah, no, it was awful. But including Zach. Zach was a guy, the British guy.
He just like jumped on. He's like, yeah, you know what? Actually, here's what I have to say. You couldn't have told her that when you were in a one-on-one
100%.
conversation.
And I'm not gonna
No,
lie,
which is weak.
I kind of
Weak.
liked him, and I kind of liked the two of them together leading up to that point. But no, he can leave after that. But for the mean girls to be piling on to Amaya, it's just like they did with Hannah. Like it's not. It's showing their true colors. It's showing why they're there, and the three of them, how they gang up on the genuine people like Amaya,
Yeah.
like Hannah, like Pepe, and for them to look at Pepe and said, "Yeah, we were the ones that made this decision because she was too locked in. She wasn't exploring. She wasn't doing this." No, it's because they saw her as a threat, and the three of them are trying to make sure that one of them ends up
Hmm.
with the cash prize at the end. I'm 100% convinced of that, and no one will be able to convince me otherwise.
I was surprised that Ace called out Shelly for basically pulling a double standard or being like a hypocrite because her exploring with Chris was okay, but him kissing a girl in a challenge, though it was excessive, was not okay.
Yeah.
I
Um,
don't know.
the,
There's
that's the one thing I'll give him credit for, is that
he
he
had 1 point. He had
yeah,
1 point.
I'll give
Everything
it to
else
him.
said,
I'll give it to him. I think he has every right to be upset with the double standard there. And for Huda took it too far, in my opinion. Huda took it too
yes.
far, but apparently it was Ace's reaction to Huda where everyone was like, I guess this is more than a challenge. Like that seemed like, and it's one thing if Shelly was pissed off, but for everyone
Everyone
to
did
sit
raise a
back
red
and be
flag.
like, whoa, real uncomfortable, like that was a little too far, then that's telling you something. But at the same time, like go back and rewatch and look at what Shelley did when she doubled back on Chris. That was wild as well.
That was
And
a
for
like conscious decision.
absolutely.
Even though she said
Absolutely.
like, I just had extra time and he's someone I know. Mm, Go for
And
like Nick as a friend
yeah,
jokingly or like
yeah.
anyone else. I
Literally
think
anyone.
going for a connection is a bigger stab than going for a friend.
100%. 100%. Because there's something
Yeah.
behind it. In that
Right.
show, there's something behind it and it means something. Um,
Yeah.
but those are the people that I'm out on. That they just need to go. There's a couple of people I was on the fence about. I really like Pepe, but I feel like he's too wishy washy, and maybe he's just upset after everything and how they did Hannah dirty and got her off. But I feel like
Yeah.
at this point he's kind of stringing Grayson along.
I agree
Um,
there. And I think he acknowledged that.
he
Something
did,
he did that
but
I
not
really
her.
respected too. Oh, yeah, that was true. Not to her.
Yeah,
I think he was getting there, but this
yeah,
challenge kind of just yeeted
yeah,
him off the ledge.
yeah.
But the way he handled Adriana, Ad- how do I say her name? I
Oh,
don't know.
Andreina.
Andreina, the way he was like honest with her up front and like kind of friend zoned her, as she said, I
Yeah,
respected in the way where he's like, I can't spread myself too thin because then I don't think someone gets to know the real me,
yeah.
which is difficult in this setting because you're also supposed to get to know multiple people at once. But I respected like the honesty in that moment. I don't know.
Absolutely,
Weird,
100%.
weird
He
honesty moment.
that was the right way to handle that, and to be like, hey, like genuinely, like basically saying like I appreciate it, but like I'm good. Um, I think that was fair, and that was the right way to do it. Because I don't think a lot of other guys would have done it that way. That being said, like he's got to have that conversation with Grayson, because Grayson,
Yeah.
you can tell that she knows that she tried to kind of say something when they were sitting down next to each other, and he's just like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. But that being said, I'm kind of on the fence about her as well, mainly because I don't really know anything about Grayson. She's just kind of been there in the background. I've heard her speak like 3 times in the last week.
Yeah.
And
Because we're
like,
consumed by the trios.
yeah, yeah, 100%. But so I
We
kind of
got,
feel bad for her. I'm on the fence about her. I don't know if I like her or not, but at this point, like, supposedly speaking, again, this is my first time watching the series. People have been saying that, like, based off of the number of episodes, like this show's going to wrap up in 2 weeks. So I don't know if there's time for the two of them to, if
yeah.
it's not there, I don't know if there's time for the two of them to even have a connection. So, and same thing with people like Elon. I don't have any necessary issue. I don't necessarily have an issue with him. That's what I was trying to say. I don't necessarily have an issue with him, but like he's just kind of by himself now. And like at this point, like there's too many people on the show. They got to start cutting it down. Like these people, same thing with Brian and Andreina, whatever. They just, it's not there. Like they're just kind of. I'll give Brian credit for standing up for Amaya Papaya.
Yes,
That was
for sure.
that was great when nobody else wanted to. None of the other girls wanted to stand up for her, except for scripted Sierra. She didn't want to say anything when everyone was piling on her. But then when Amaya leaves and goes and is bawling her eyes out, then Sierra wants to come over and say, the stereotypical line, oh, don't ever be ashamed of who you are. You should love who you are, and someone will love you for who you are. Trying to score, it's like she's trying to score brownie points with the viewers. Like she doesn't want to stand
Yeah.
up and then, say something in front of everyone because she knows that someone will just attack her for not being genuine. But then she wants to go act like she's genuine when it's off camera, but nothing's off camera, clearly,
Right.
show. Um, but she wants to go, console her when it's just no one can say anything to her. She can just sit on her pedestal, or stand on her pedestal on her soapbox, and be this beam of reason and of sympathy and empathy. And it's just I'm over it. It's fake. I need to get. You got to go. Got to go.
Well, on that note, I gave you a little more than the allotted 10 minutes,
Yeah,
but
my
it's
bad.
okay because you were clearly passionate about it and been waiting for this moment. You had the
Heated.
list ready to go and everything. But it makes me excited for Bachelor in Paradise because I think the formats are a lot more similar than anything we've experienced with Bachelor or Bachelorette. So it's kind of like the free for all of like X amount of boys, X amount of girls, excuse me, X amount of men, X amount of women. They're all above 18. They might not act it sometimes, but alas, give them the right word or whatever it is. So any last words before I tell people where to tune in for Bachelor in Paradise?
I don't think so. I think I said I said a lot. As you can tell, I get pretty heated, pretty passionate about this stuff, especially when there's drama. So looking forward to more heated conversations, some hot takes, some fan questions eventually maybe, and yeah, looking forward to next episode.
I think we found our rhythm after the low key awkward intro.
Absolutely, the hardest
We
part.
didn't know how to do like the formatted stuff, but let us talk and we're good.
Oh yeah, this is exactly how we would talk in the locker room.
Yes. Okay, so anyone listening, please watch the Bachelor in Paradise premiere so you understand what we're talking about, or you can come in naively blind. I don't really care. But it debuts on Monday, July 7th at 8 p.m. ET Eastern on ABC. So for Liam McCullough, I am Terrin Waack, and thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of Snap Back to Reality.
Thanks, guys.